a freak off. Can somebody bring me to a freak off?
All right,
I want to go to a freak off. I want to get just like Cat Diddy. I need to get, I want a freak off. That's what I want.
Where's the guy?
Bring me to a freak off. That's not no academic. Oh my God. Stick with the other Italian.
Everyone thinks this is academic.
Stick with the Italian. You're not Italian, you're Spanish.
And possibly them not being proven. Could you expand on that?
Myron, that piece of
I mean, what can you say? It's just another day in New York. Hey, yo, thanks for tuning in to The Source, your source for celebrity news. Check this out. As you know, for the last couple of days, my videos have been being delayed. So, what I went and did was create a few podcasts that are going to offer you a little bit more insight and a lot more context into what's been going on during the first few days of the Diddy trial. So, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and make sure you watch all three, because I think what I'm going to do is drop them back to back to back. And then, once I see how long it takes for these videos to cycle through the system, I'm going to jump back on here and give you my personal take on everything that's been going on in the trial. Alright, so let's get into it.
We're jumping straight into the Sean Combs trial today.
Yeah, the focus is really on those racketeering and trafficking charges.
Exactly. And our mission here is to dissect the key testimonies. We're looking closely at Cassie, Ventura, and Don Richard.
Right. We know you want to get a clear picture quickly and thoroughly.
So we're going to unpack the big moments, analyze, the potential impact on the case.
And really look at the strengths, the weaknesses that came out and what they said.
We've got a lot of court transcript material here. The end of Cassie Ventura's cross-examination, her redirect, and then Don Richard starting her testimony.
These are first-hand accounts given under oath. So our goal is to pull out the really significant insights.
And connect them directly back to the charges Combs is actually facing.
Precisely.
Okay, let's start with the end of Cassie Ventura's cross-examination. This was Friday, March 16th. Sean Combs' attorney, Anna Estevao. She's representing Combs, obviously.
Right. She kept questioning Ventura.
And early on, they got into that event at the Intercontinental Hotel. Estevao asked her straight up, beginning to end, you believe Mr. Combs was blacked out for the Intercontinental event.
And Ventura's response was interesting. She said, I believe he was intoxicated. Everyone's definition is different.
But Estevao pushed back, didn't she? Pointed to a prior statement.
Yeah, she said, but you said blacked out. What did you write here? You meant narcotics and alcohol.
So that difference, blacked out versus intoxicated, it sounds small, but it feels important here.
It really is. Blacked out suggests, maybe no awareness.
Whereas intoxicated leaves more room for, well, some level of control, maybe, which the defense clearly wants to highlight.
Exactly. They're dissecting her language very carefully, trying to chip away at her credibility, perhaps suggest she wasn't entirely without agency.
Okay, then the cross-examination shifted to text messages. These were apparently sent right after that Intercontinental event.
Right. Combs texts her, I am so for you.
And the prosecution objected initially.
Yeah, likely procedural, maybe it wasn't formally evidence yet, but the questioning went on.
Combs then asks for SX.
And Ventura replies, we need a different vibe than Friday at the Intercontinental.
Okay. And Combs answers.
Friday, I don't even want to do that again.
And Ventura's response.
LOL true.
LOL true.
That's gas.
Complex.
Very. The defense is definitely using these texts. They're trying to show, look, they were communicating, negotiating almost.
It potentially complicates the narrative of just pure control.
Absolutely. That LOL true. Was she agreeing Friday was bad? Was she amused? The defense could argue it shows some shared understanding, maybe even agency on her part.
So the defense seems to be building this picture of a messy relationship. Sexually charged sometimes, but maybe not one where she had no say.
That seems to be the angle, yes.
All right, next topic was Combs' jealousy. Estevao asked about this incident in the car.
Oh yeah, where he supposedly took her phone while she was calling her mom.
Led to a big fight, Ventura said. Combs left for hours, apparently, until her mother called the police.
And Ventura believed he went through her phone. Called some NFL player he thought she was seeing.
Yeah. Chris Brown's name came up too, in relation to a photo from 2013, dancing. She didn't recall it at first, but then did.
And it wasn't just the phone, right?
No, she said he also took her car and her passport when he was angry.
Wow. Okay, taking someone's passport, their car, that definitely sounds like controlling behavior. Limits freedom, autonomy?
Yeah, that paints a pretty clear picture, doesn't it? The jealousy angle adds another layer too.
For sure.
Then there was a quick mention of Combs being in rehab. Ventura didn't remember much detail.
And she went to Sedona herself, she said, to get away from drugs.
Which brings us to this whole video incident. Combs apparently told her to get some video she'd heard about.
Right, and her written reply was something like, "You keep putting me down."
But then the defense played an audio recording of Ventura herself.
Yes, threatening someone named Sujit. It was pretty intense stuff. "If you don't show me, I will kill you, cut you up."
And she confirmed it was her voice.
She did.
So the questioning then went to Combs being worried of videos getting out.
And Ventura, suspecting an escort, Jonathan Audi, had taken one. She wasn't sure if Combs paid to stop it. Described Audi as volatile.
And when she told Combs about Audi recording, what did he supposedly say?
According to her, he said he'd take care of it. She also said she didn't know about escort comments on Combs' Instagram.
Okay, this is getting tangled. What's the defense doing here, you think?
Well, it looks like they're trying to show Ventura could also be threatening, maybe concerned about her own image getting damaged.
Trying to muddy the waters, make her seem less like a pure victim.
Possibly, and Combs saying he'd take care of it. That's ambiguous too. Was he intimidating or just trying to fix a problem that upset her?
It introduces these other players, other motives, makes it more complicated than just Combs versus Ventura.
Exactly. It raises questions about everyone's actions and motivations.
Okay, moving on. They talked about Ventura's time in rehab.
Right. She confirmed using Suboxone or something similar for opioid addiction. Prosecution objected to that line.
Medical privacy, probably. She also mentioned writing a book in rehab.
Yes, and that the facility treated sexual compulsion. Another objection and a sidebar discussion.
Away from the jury. And she described therapies, neurofeedback.
Yes, sensors on her head, monitoring reactions to help with trauma, she said.
And EMDR therapy too.
Right. Explains for processing traumatic memories, PTSD, and she confirmed she was being treated for PTSD.
That seems pretty relevant, understanding her mental state and the alleged impact of the abuse.
Absolutely. The prosecution can argue she sought treatment, supporting her claims. The defense might explore if the trauma aligns exactly with her allegations against Combs.
Got it. Then there was this bit about her physical development, said she was still physically developing at 22.
Yeah, but she clarified she didn't mean after 22. Seemed like a minor point almost.
But then came a text message about a freak off without ketamine.
That caused an objection and a break in the proceedings.
And after the break,
Esteval read another message from Combs saying something like, "You're so predictable. You said you'd tell him you didn't want to do freak offs anymore, but you didn't say it, did you?"
And Ventura confirmed she hadn't said it.
Right. And she also mentioned suggesting a freaking off of the girl herself.
Wow, these texts really give a stark look into their sexual conversations and the whole freak-off dynamic.
It's crucial context. The defense uses that predictability text, her not saying no, to suggest maybe willingness, or at least not a clear objection at that moment.
But the prosecution could argue fear stopped her, right? Or coercion.
Exactly. It cuts both ways, depending on interpretation and context.
Okay, then they covered the breakup. She found a photo of Combs with someone named Gina.
Yeah, while she was staying with her parents, that seemed to be the final straw for her.
She wasn't sure if Combs suggested couples counseling, said August 2018 was like a closure conversation.
And he invited her to Burning Man after that.
Seems so. Then there was this text exchange. Combs says, "You have anger."
And she sends back a bunch of messages. Things like, "My family knows I'm not running around telling our business.
"I don't need you to be taking care of Kim and Gina. I needed you to put me first."
And importantly, you lied to me. She never went away. It was the nail in the coffin," referring to Gina.
So from her perspective, the relationship fractured because of infidelity, broken trust.
Those texts show her emotional state pretty clearly at the time of the breakup. Lots of conflict, feeling betrayed.
Then came a really contentious point, the alleged assault in Malibu.
Right, her civil lawsuit said September 2018, but the defense pointed out inconsistencies.
How so?
In a meeting with the U.S. government back in November 2023, she apparently said it happened after Combs got back from Burning Man, which implies August, not September.
Ooh, a date discrepancy on a major allegation.
Exactly. Ventura did recall him acting strangely or anxiously at that dinner, whenever it was. But the defense is hitting hard on that date, inconsistency.
Classic defense move, undermine credibility by showing inconsistencies.
Right. Now, recalling exact dates of trauma can be tough, everyone knows that.
But the defense will argue, if she can't get the date right on something this serious, what else is wrong?
Precisely. It depends how the jury sees it. Genuine memory lapse or something that casts doubt on her whole story.
There was also a quick mention of FB.
Frank Black. An alias Combs used, she said. There was a text. I'm in an investors conference.
And then, a kind of sad moment, asked if she still has love for him.
She said, I have love for the past and what it was.
Then more texts later on about a yoga instructor, her saying, I've stopped even caring.
But Combs suggests maybe they date other people but still talk.
And she replies, I do love you. I would just prefer not being one of your girlfriends. They plan to meet at the studio.
Then Combs asks, can I hold you or are you just going to break up with me?
Her response, we can embrace, LOL. Like, a hug was okay.
It shows just how complicated that emotional connection still was, even near the end.
Yeah, these later messages really highlight that. Hard to completely cut ties after so long, so much conflict.
And her saying she still loved him, even in the past tense, and being willing to hug him, the defense will definitely use that to argue the dynamic wasn't purely black and white.
Right, it complicates the prosecution's potential narrative of total victimhood.
It underscores how messy real relationships are and how hard it is to judge past interactions based on current allegations alone.
Okay, but then maybe the most startling part of the cross-examination, September 27th, 2018.
Yeah. She confirmed having intercourse with Combs that night.
And her now husband FaceTimed her during this.
That's what she testified. Said she wasn't sure what he knew then, but he found out later.
Wow. That's incredibly unusual and very sensitive.
It's a huge revelation. The defense might argue, see, consent, not acting out of fear if she's intimate with him like this.
Especially given the alleged assault just weeks before.
Exactly. But the prosecution will have to frame it differently. Was it fear, appeasement, trauma bonding? What were the power dynamics at play?
It adds a massive layer of complexity. Both sides will try to spin that for sure.
No doubt.
Then they talked about Kim Porter's memorial service.
Ventura texted Combs, Kurt that he called Porter his soulmate, questioned their whole 11 years.
And memorial was the last time she saw him in person.
Yes. She said, I never saw him again. I don't know about letting me go. She confirmed she later married the love of her life.
Combs sent messages later, like congratulating her on becoming a mother.
Yeah. You're gonna make a beautiful mother. God bless. She replied, thank you. God bless.
She also texted him saying, we should talk and have closure.
And he sent back a tear face emoji and said, you were always my ride or die. She apparently thought that was nice at the time.
Reflecting on 11 years together, we also learned a bit more about her husband's a trainer, modest upbringing compared to Combs.
And her music career came up again, preparing for a tour that got canceled after the lawsuit settlement. Not just for money reasons, she implied.
Made an Instagram post about domestic violence after that hotel video came out.
Right. And the cross-examination ended with this final kind of provocative text exchange.
Combs asks, want to freak off one last time?
And her reply, I don't want it to be the last time. I want freak off for the first time.
Wow. Okay. That ending text. Lots to unpack there.
Absolutely. These later messages show the long shadow of the relationship, the attempts at closure, maybe still seeking validation from him with that ride or die comment.
And canceling the tour, the Instagram post, clearly shows the emotional toll.
And that final text exchange, so ambiguous about her feelings right then.
Okay, so after that intense cross-examination, the prosecution got to redirect.
Right, their chance to clarify things.
And she did clarify that freak off for the first time text.
Yes, she had a context immediately after. Yes, I'm horny, just got over a UTI.
Okay. She also acknowledged good times, kind and loving periods.
But said they didn't last. Always followed by downswings. Called his world a world of chaos.
And she maintained during those 11 years, she only wanted to have sex with him.
At that time, yes. And regarding that seduce me all day message from him, she said she'd write about fantasy.
She confirmed canceling work for freak-offs if told to.
Yes. And having to communicate through Mia when she blocked Combs in South Africa.
Expressed disbelief when he claimed not to remember her, saw him with other women.
And then she brought up a really disturbing incident. On the way back from Cannes,
What happened?
she said Combs played a video of her with an escort, threatened to release it if she didn't have a freak-off.
That's intense coercion. She talked about her fear.
Yes, fear of consequences. If she refused freak-offs for her safety, her career, losing his love.
And she was firm about the assault.
Said she has no doubt he assaulted her.
She also confirmed the consensual sex weeks after the alleged August assault, the night her husband FaceTimed.
Right. And reiterated canceling the tour because she felt overwhelmed after filing the suit, dealing with the past.
No plans for more lawsuits. Said she'd give back the $20 million settlement to get her agency back.
She also alleged he beat her during freak-offs. Said she was initially open to them, but that changed.
And she told him repeatedly she didn't want them anymore.
That's what she testified. Felt being his girlfriend meant participating in freak-offs. Kept old devices, videos, out of fear.
Talked about the career connection too. Attending the Met Gala gave her access to producers.
Yeah, mentioned being in the studio with huge names of Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, Pusha T. Linked her career hopes to the relationship.
Admitted feeling self-conscious about her talent, remembered a bad TV performance.
Confirmed friendships with D-Rock and Mia. Acknowledged actively participating in some explicit messages.
And confirmed demanding $10 million from the Intercontinental Hotel, which she got just before trial.
Finally asked if she knew freak-offs were his preference, she said, "I learned it was part of being his girlfriend."
So the redirect really let the prosecution reinforce their narrative, add context, explain some of the defense's points from her perspective.
Absolutely. Her statements about fear, coercion, her understanding of the relationship, all crucial for the prosecution.
And just as her testimony wrapped up, the judge announces the next witness, Don Richard.
But the defense immediately objected. After some discussion, Ventura was done.
And the very next witness called was Don Richard.
Right. From New Orleans, worked for Combs, called him Puff from 2004 to 2011, identified Cassie in a photo.
And then she described a really disturbing incident from 2009 at Combs' LA house.
Yeah, she testified she saw Combs attack Cassie. Said he came downstairs, screaming, belligerent, asking where his food was.
And proceeded to hit her over the head, kicked her, and beat her to the ground in front of us.
She added details. He grabbed a black skillet with eggs, tried to hit Cassie with it. Cassie dropped into a fetal position.
Combs kicked her, head and body.
That's what Richard testified. Then dragged her upstairs, heard glass breaking, yelling.
Said she was scared for Cassie and for herself, didn't intervene, didn't call police.
Then, the next day, Combs allegedly calls her and another woman who saw it to his home.
Meets them in a locked recording studio.
Yes. Tells them what they saw was just passion, normal for lovers.
And then the alleged threat.
Said it was in their best interest if we didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And that where he comes from, people go missing if they talk.
Your Honor, the government calls Don Richard. Where are you from?
New Orleans, Louisiana.
From 2004 to 2011. Who did you work for?
Puff, Sean Combs.
Do you see him?
Yes.
Who is depicted in this photo?
Cassie.
In 2009, did you observe an incident between Puff and Cassie?
She was attacked by Sean Combs, kicked.
Did you see more by him against Cassie?
Often.
When were you a member of this group?
2009 to 2011.
The incident in 2009 when Sean Combs beat Cassie, where was it?
In Sean Combs' LA home, we were recording.
What did he do?
He was saying, "Where the fuck is my food?" He grabbed a black skillet with eggs and tried to hit her over the head. Cassie dropped to the ground.
What did she do?
She went into fetal position.
Then what?
Sean Combs was kicking her in the head and body, then dragged her up to the first floor, glass breaking and yelling. I was scared for her, and for me too.
Did you intervene?
No.
Did you call police?
No.
The next day, what happened?
That it had been passionate and she was okay. That it would be better if we didn't talk. That people could end up missing.
How did you understand that?
Wow. Richard also confirmed she has her own lawsuit against Combs now, filed in September, for sexual battery, harassment, false imprisonment.
So Don Richard's testimony is huge. It's a third party corroborating violent behavior by Combs towards Ventura years earlier.
The skillet detail, the alleged threats, very specific, very damaging if believed.
Richard's testimony, if the jury finds it credible, could really strengthen Ventura's claims of a pattern of abuse.
Okay, so let's step back and analyze. Based on these two testimonies, Cassie Ventura's and Don Richard's, what are the big strengths for the prosecution?
Well, the biggest strength is probably Ventura's detailed testimony over several days. Even under tough cross-examination, her core story held.
Plus some text messages back parts of it up.
Exactly. And then Don Richard's eyewitness account from 2009 that provides powerful corroboration of violence adds weight to the idea of a pattern.
And don't forget the stuff found in his hotel room after the arrest. Baby oil, lubricant, drugs.
Right, that potentially aligns with the freak-off descriptions, possibly boosting the sex trafficking angle.
Okay, weaknesses for the prosecution. What will the defense hammer on?
Definitely the timeline inconsistencies, especially around that alleged rape date. They'll keep bringing that up to question her overall memory and credibility.
And the text suggesting more consensual moments, the LOL true kind of stuff.
Yes, and the financial settlement she received, the defense, will imply bias or motive there.
What about Don Richards' testimony? Any weaknesses there for the prosecution?
The defense will argue it's old 2009, and that Ventura didn't specifically mention that skillet incident when talking about the recent charges. They'll frame it as domestic violence, maybe, but try to disconnect it from the racketeering and sex trafficking claims.
Got it. Now, flip side, what strengths did the defense try to build?
They're trying to paint Combs as, maybe jealous, maybe difficult, but not a criminal mastermind running a sex trafficking ring.
Using the text in Ventura's own words to show complexity, maybe some agency on her part?
Right. Attacking her credibility on timelines and money is key for them. And with Richard, arguing relevance, saying a 15-year-old domestic incident isn't proof of the current charges.
So, looking ahead, what are the biggest hurdles for Combs and his team to get a not guilty verdict, especially after hearing these two?
It's a steep climb. They have to overcome these really graphic, detailed accounts from both women. It's damaging testimony.
Even setting aside other potential witnesses or evidence like that hotel video?
Exactly. Just these two paint a very dark picture. They also need a convincing explanation for the drugs and stuff found in his room that doesn't involve sex trafficking.
And Richard's testimony about being threatened? If the jury believes that, it really hurts the defense's image of Combs.
Makes him look intimidating, controlling, maybe dangerous. Undermines any attempt to portray him as just misunderstood.
Okay, last big question. Let's connect the dots specifically. How do Ventura's and Richard's testimonies support a guilty verdict on the actual charges? Let's break it down. Racketeering, conspiracy first.
For racketeering, you need a pattern of criminal activity, an enterprise. Both testimonies suggest a pattern: control, abuse, coercion. Richard's testimony about the alleged threat afterwards could be seen as an act to protect that enterprise, keep things quiet.
Okay. And sex trafficking.
Ventura's testimony is central here. Her detailed descriptions of freak-offs, feeling forced, the threats involving that video, the link to drugs, escorts, that directly maps onto sex trafficking elements.
And Richard's testimony helps how?
It establishes a history of alleged violence and intimidation. The prosecution can argue that's how he maintained control over victims, which is relevant to trafficking.
Makes sense. Lastly, transportation for purposes of prosecution.
Again, Ventura's accounts. Being flown places, taken to hotels, specifically for these freak-offs she felt coerced into. Her testimony suggests the travel wasn't for romance, but tied directly to his demands for sex under his control. That aligns with the transportation charge.
So, putting it all together, these testimonies provide significant foundational evidence for the prosecution across multiple charges.
They really do. It's been an intense deep dive into just these two witnesses. Their accounts, despite the defense's challenges, form a substantial part of the case against Combs.
And as always, we've aimed to give you, the listener, a clear rundown based purely on the information coming out of the trial.
Absolutely. It's a complex situation, mixing serious criminal charges with deeply personal, messy relationships.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to consider. When you have testimony, this detailed, this emotional, but also facing challenges about dates, interpretations, past settlements, what does it actually take for a jury to reach that standard beyond a reasonable doubt, especially in a case involving such complex history and serious crimes?
Listen, let me know what you think about everything that was discussed in today's video. And while you're down there leaving a comment, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends. Hey yo, thanks for tuning in to The Source, your source for celebrity news. Peace.